In the previous video, we got acquainted with the largest island of the Azores. But we decided to visit several other islands of this archipelago. At first, I thought it would be quite romantic to hop from island to island with ferries, maybe even spot a whale. But there are no ferries between the islands that are further apart. It's understandable why when you look at the ocean waves and feel the strong ocean winds. All that remains is to travel by plane, although flying a tiny plane in such winds was not too tempting either. But it turns out Azores Airlines have full control, rescheduling flights for free in case of bad weather. I was surprised by these airlines. When ordering tickets, there is no difference whether you buy tickets a month or a day in advance, because the prices are fixed. If there are tickets, you will buy them for the same price, just like on the bus. By the way, airports are also reminiscent of bus stations, because the buildings are small and you can arrive almost right before your flight. So, one such windy day, we hopped on a plane to another island in the Azores in about 40 minutes. For us, it is a second island, but the first arrivals found this island as a third, which is why they named it so simply, the third. Translated into Portuguese, it would be Terceira. Only when we landed, this island reminded us of Ireland. Although we have never been to this country, the scenery of Ireland should be somewhat similar. We were also greeted by the strange feeling that there were no tourists around, a stark contrast to the main island of São Miguel. But one thing that hasn't changed is the cows, because they are everywhere. Because of them, apparently, most of the trees on the island were cut down. Now almost 80% of the island consists of such fields, but the views are still pleasing to the eye, especially when you get up from above. The whole island looks like a carpet with colorful elements. Flying with a drone here was really uncomfortable because the island is heavily militarized, and there is also a US military base here. It can be said that our plane landed at the military airport. There are only a few commercial flights a day, but military planes take off and land throughout the day. Because the Azores are located between Europe and America, high-ranking politicians often meet here when there is a crisis. The last such meeting was before the US invasion of Iraq. The Americans also used this island to destroy Hitler's submarines, which bombed American ships in the Atlantic Ocean. Thus, the island has always been geopolitically important since its discovery. At first, it was an intermediate stop between Europe, America, and India during the heyday of the Portuguese colonial empire. And on the island of Terceira is left a wonderful monument of the prosperity of that empire. Although the entire island has a rustic feel, its capital city betrays that once upon a time, big things happened here. This city is even included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. By the way, this is the most difficult city name I've ever heard, Angra do Heroísmo. The city is valued for its exceptional architecture and abundance of historical buildings. The layout of the streets, which have survived since the 16th century, and the design of the protective walls are also fascinating. By the way, quite recently, 40 years ago, a strong earthquake occurred here and a large part of the city was destroyed. Of course, the main buildings of the city have been rebuilt, but the effects of the earthquake are still felt when walking around the city. Do you recognize this angry guy? This is Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese traveler who first found a sea route to India. It turns out that on the way back from India, his brother fell seriously ill and his fleet stopped on this island. However, his brother died here, and Vasco da Gama stayed on the island for 3 months because he was mourning his lost brother. This is probably why his face is depicted so grumpy. Terceira Island is also famous for one more thing, an ancient lava tunnel. Larger or smaller lava tunnels can be seen all over the Azores. but the one in Terceira is one of the largest and best suited for tourists. An impressive-sized lava rock and tunnel betrays the origin of this island. After getting to know the history of the island, we somehow wanted to rest and relax. We thought we hadn't even swam in the ocean on this trip. It turns out that this island even has a sandy beach that is protected from the big waves of the ocean. However, after arriving here, we realized that tourists travel to the Azores for completely different reasons. We found a completely empty beach in a rather old and abandoned resort. However, we decided to look for a place where locals frequent, and we find such a place on the other side of the island, where the ocean waves are the biggest and crash against the black volcanic rocks. Natural pools can be found among such rocks, and one such pool is safely installed, so you can swim in it even in the presence of huge ocean waves. However, the turbulent ocean makes the water cloudy, and it will not be such a pleasant bath. But we really liked this place. It's a great stop when exploring the island. Right next to this bathing place, we notice a rather unusual landscape. A number of enclosures where something is grown are presented from the volcanic black rock. It turns out that this small area is used for growing grapes, and the fences protect against strong winds and help maintain the right temperature for growing grapes. There will be a little more story about Azores wine from another island. Now let's just admire the exquisite landscape created by man. We've already seen quite a lot here, and it's like we didn't expect anything from this island anymore. But the best things happen unexpectedly. Driving through the center of a small town, we felt some kind of strange and unusual atmosphere. There was a large gathering of people on the street, younger people walking on the street, older people looking out of windows. Happily, the local policeman spoke excellent English and explained that there was a bullfight here. This is an ancient tradition, preserved only on the island of Terceira. While the other islands of the Azores scoff at the brutal traditions that are still being promoted, the people of Terceira are proud of it and organize huge festivals all over the island. The day of bullfights is celebrated by all residents of the town. Children do not go to school. Work stops. People gather, eat, socialize, have fun. The main place of the celebration often becomes the central street of the town, where lines are drawn indicating safety zones. You have to be very careful when crossing the lines. All street windows and entrances are boarded up and secured. Some people sit as high as possible, while others, more daring, walk freely on the street. The signal is given by loud firecrackers and the bull is released into the street. For safety reasons, the bull is held on a rope by 6 persons, called shepherds. They control that the bulls do not leave the designated territory and in cases where people are in serious danger. In addition, guards are placed on the bull's horns. The people left on the street annoy and provoke the bull. Who chases everyone until he runs out of strength. Then there is a break. People have fun. The orchestra plays. In other words, a complete festive atmosphere. Then another bull is released, and so on for 4 rounds. A total of 4 bulls are released during the evening, which are not killed, but kept for the next show. After the bullfight, people have a party called the 5th bull. It was very unusual for us when you see how animals are treated, but when you see how deeply it is ingrained in their traditions, it's not even worth discussing. We really liked the island of Terceira, and the people are probably the nicest we have met during our travels. By the way, travel because once you've tasted travel, you can't stop. And in the next part, we will move to another, no less impressive island of the Azores.